46 up on the inside. That's Landon Castle, the 88. Stanley car on the outside out of the Dale Earnhardt Jr. stables.
Smaller pack breaking out onto the tri-oval here than we've seen.
Whoa, we got
problems.
some problems.
00. Ed Kennedy gets turned around. He collects another car. That's the 25. That's the Venerini-owned number 25, driven by Ryan Fisher.
There's quite a bit of damage to that 25 car. That's more than likely going to be terminal.
Second caution comes out on lap 10, just on the restart.
Yeah, there's the Ed Kennedy number 00, the Daytona Lagoon Chevrolet.
Again, this is coming out of turn 4, Phil.
Just watch the right of your screen. You see the 00 of Ed Kennedy get turned around. He was on the inside of another car. He makes some contact with the outside wall and then backs back across the racetrack. A lot of guys did some nice work to avoid that, but unfortunately the 25 of Ryan Fisher was not as lucky.
Trying to get out of the way, nowhere to go.
Yeah, just Ryan Fisher in the 25 just got caught in the right rear corner by Ed Kennedy coming across the racetrack. The 4 car right there, Taylor Malsom, did a real nice job avoiding that.
Just collecting that 25. You see the damage, and then he slides in to that safer barrier on the inside of the racetrack.
Yeah, the 4 car of Taylor Malsom had to actually avoid both of those cars, the 00 of Ed Kennedy and the 25 of Ryan Fisher.
I like the flagman up there that holds the pit flag.
Jumped out of the way.
He said, I'm not sure where to stand, but this isn't a good spot.
I think I'll move back behind this big wall here. So as they attest, that's the gentleman we were talking about right there, letting everyone know that pits are closed right now as they clean up this mess here. Again, coming out of turn 4 and on the pit entrance. So a lot of damage to the 25 and the 00, bringing out our second caution.
Three wide racing. That's Ken Butler the third, the 22 on the outside.
Gabby DiCarlo and Brian Scott had problems right in front of him. We see the car turned around. That's a 7 of Kyle Krisiloff. He was running second before he got spun around. Oh, and problems continuing on the racetrack.
Yeah, that's Brian Silas right there. Some hard contact.
Okay, will you tell me again if my glass is half full or half empty?
I think I'm going to go with half empty on that, Ken.
Yeah.
Justin Allgaier spun out right down here, right just before the start-finish line, the 16 car.
Kyle Krisiloff was sideways when we saw him as he came into our camera angle. And so obviously that was the problem. Let's take another look at what took place.
We saw Gabby DiCarlo getting a little bit loose here. He had the 75 of Brian Scott behind her. And then we saw the smoke up ahead of these guys. And then they all try to take some evasive action. The 75 of Brian Scott turns around. He collects, looked like the 4 car Taylor Malsom. There's the 39, the 09, the 44 Frank Kimmel sliding through the infield.
There's the 7. We see him checked up way back there, and we believe he had a lot to do with what took place behind him.
Yeah, a lot of damage to Mario Gosselin's car. Here's another view. This is a little bit closer to the front. You saw just left of your screen was the 2 of Scott Speed. We know he got considerable damage in this incident. There's a little bit of contact between Brian Scott, and then he made a little contact with that 32 car. That's Dominic Casola. There's Taylor Malsom got into the 75 of Brian Scott.
And everyone checking up, not only because of what was going on with Brian Scott, but also the front of the field. And here's a good look at now the 7. Again, the 7 moves up the racetrack and then tries to come back down, but there wasn't room.
It just comes back down, and Justin Marks had already committed to that part of the racetrack, and then he slid back up the racetrack, caught the 2 of Scott Speed. There's another view. Watch, he's going to come back down and try to get in that hole that's not there. Then you see Matt Carter runs in the back of the 65 of Justin Marks. Bobby Gerhardt does a great job. Michael Annette does a great job avoiding this, and everybody else, it seems like, is involved. Frank Kimmel, that white car spinning down through the middle of the racetrack. He spins in between 2 or 3 cars. Here comes Ricky Stenhouse right at his front end. Frank's going to slide out of the way of him. Just havoc all over the racetrack.
Seems like we always talk about the big one when we talk about restrictor plate racing, and this one started at the front and at the middle almost simultaneously.
Matt Carter did a real good job there.
Yeah, he really did.
Yeah.
Even though he made contact with Justin Marks, it could have been a whole lot worse. And then you could see those guys get back in the throttle to get by before Kyle Krisloff came back up the racetrack.
Be some hard hitting there. That's Mario Goslin in the 21 that we saw, and then you saw Scott Speed running along the top there. Another contact there, and a very big hit. That's pretty tough camera, by the way, too.
Yeah, 72 of Dwayne Bryan was in that initially. There's the 30 of Terry Jones coming towards the back of Mario Goslin's car. Now here's Frank Kimmel. This is going to be an interesting ride. He sees the smoke. He's off the throttle.
Car sliding in front of him. Brian Scott comes back up the racetrack. He avoids it, but does get tagged just a bit.
I think Frank is going to have minimal damage, so he's going to, he was riding around to the tail end of this pack, and he's going to emerge with some good fortune for sure. There's Brian Silas right here, his onboard camera. He's right behind Patrick Sheltra. He's trying to get slowed down. Now car's cleaning off the bank. Ooh,
there was the contact with Mario Goslin again.
Emerged from the smoke, and then Mario Goslin was right there, unfortunately. There's cars right in front of them, still crashing, and then
got contact again, and then more damage. And silence. Under caution for the 6th time this evening. And this time it was a car that was looking very strong after he had come off of pit road. That's the 65 of Justin Marks. He was running second, and problems ensued.
I think it was either him or Patrick. They got
Sheltra
one of them got to wiggling a little bit, and just off of 2, it's easy to get in trouble.
Yeah, there was very little contact with the inside wall there. There's
a lot
Ricky
of damage.
Stenhouse. He had a great run going, was doing a nice job, and you see the damage to that K&N Ford. Yeah, Ricky was involved in a practice crash yesterday. He was doing a great job. He's up in the top 5 here to this incident. Let's see if we can see what happened on this incident coming off turn number 2 here. There's Benny Chastain, the 54 car.
That's behind the
That's behind the accident. Looked like he cut down a right front tire and made some contact with the outside safer barrier.
He'll kind of slide into what's taking place in front of him. You see the smoke there, and that was where we'll take a look now at what took place up front.
Patrick Sheltra gets loose and chases the car up the hill, just makes contact with the 65 of Justin Marks. You saw the 99 for a second, making some contact with the outside wall. There's Matt Carter on the outside right up against the wall, and Justin Marks and Patrick Sheltra both spin down through the infield. Looks like Justin was about to get the thing straightened out, and the wheels were turned to the left. He headed towards the inside wall. Here comes Bobby Gerhart on pit road, Jim.